Hi guys, and welcome back to Thumpstar. Today we have another assembly video on the TSB250. We're going to show you how to put one of these together from the crate. And the first thing you want to do is remove this cardboard and expose the frame and the bike. Let's do that now. With the bike now exposed, you want to go and cut all these zip ties up and free up all your components. Get those out, lay them out ready on your workbench or whatever you have, ready for assembly. The next thing you're going to want to do is take a 14mm spanner, 14mm socket, and you want to take all the bottom bolts off the bottom of the crate, just like so. With the motorcycle now laying like this in the crate, you need to free up the rear wheel by cutting these two wires off, getting those out the way, and then going towards the front end and doing the same down here on the lower frame rail. With those bits now removed, you're going to want to grab yourself a nice strong buddy, get an end of the bike each, and lift it out onto some kind of a work stand or lift. So here we have the components laid out on the bench. You'll see there is the headlight, the bar pad, the fuel tank cap, forks, handlebar mounts. You've got your side stand, your headlight bracket, front guard there, and that's about it. So we'll get into the installation assembly right now. So we're going to now install the handlebars. Grab yourself those bar clamps and mount them in just like so. And we're going to use a 6mm Allen key and a 13mm socket and tighten those up. So with the installation of the ignition key there, you're going to want to put the back nut on first, and then you've also got supplied a little spacer that you're going to need to use on the opposite side, just so that everything sits nice and flush. Lastly, just get yourself your torque wrench, and 14 Newton meters is where you want to torque those up to. After you've torqued those up, just get the paint marker out and mark them up as we do, so you can recognize if any of your bolts have shifted while you ride. Next, we are going to take the front suspension, the front forks, and slide those through the clamps, and then we're going to do the bolts up. There are one set of bolts at the top and two sets at the bottom. These are just pinch bolts, so you don't want to get too carried away. The torque specs you're going to want to use is 12 Newton meters for the top and 8 Newton meters for the bottom. And of course, don't forget to paint mark those, as with any of the bolts you're going to do up. Now we're going to take the front wheel guard and install that onto the bike. It's quite straightforward. You've just got some bolts underneath that you're going to line up and screw in. So now we're going to take the front wheel, put the spacers in them and install that. The larger spacer is going to go on the side closest to the camera here. So the smaller spacer is going to go on the side with the disc brake. And then just torque that up to 40 Newton meters. So now we're going to install the front brake caliper. You've got some spacers just here. We're going to put a bit of Loctite on those. And then we're just going to install the spacers just like that. A little bit of a balancing act to get it all in. And then we're going to tighten these up to 20 Newton meters, just like so. Give them a mark with the paint. And the next thing we're going to do is just locate the brake line into the little holder. So that's how we're going to locate the brake line in. We're just going to thread those through the little loops and then screw the Phillips head screws on accordingly. Looking at the throttle here, we're just going to make sure that our free play is adjusted correctly. So we can just see there, you just want a little bit of a wiggle, and you can use that adjuster to either plus or minus the slack. We also have another adjuster just there. The same thing's going to apply for the clutch cable, just a little bit of a wiggle there. Use the adjustment on the end to get that right, just like so. Now we are going to install the front headlight. There is an electrical connector you're going to need to plug in. It's very straightforward, and it is the only one that will fit into the headlight plug, so you cannot get that wrong. And then we're just going to line up the bolts there at the top of the headlight, screw them in on both sides, and that should give us our headlight assembled. So now we're going to move to the rear of the motorcycle and install the rear shock bolt to the swing arm. Very simple, we're just going to line those up and do them up. And we're going to do this one up to 40 Newton meters. Now grab yourself a 12mm socket and undo this to release the seat from the motorcycle. That's going to give you access to your battery and your air filter, which we're going to get to very shortly. So here we have a wing nut that you can undo if you need to remove this whole unit. That's going to give you access to your air filter should that require oiling. You can just give that a quick wipe with your finger, and if you notice your finger's a bit greasy, then that filter has got oil and it is good to go. Now, using the supplied nuts and the little metal blocks that go underneath, just connect your battery up, the positive to the positive and the negative to the negative, just like so. These motorcycles come equipped with a sight glass, so just check your oil level is okay. This one's absolutely perfect, so we can move along. Check your chain tension, just want to have that little bit of slack there in the middle, that is perfect. If you have not got that amount of slack and you need to either tighten or loosen it, you can watch our Genuine Thumpstar maintenance video right here on the Genuine Thumpstar channel. Now just grab your side stand and the spring, and we're just going to install these like so. You just have to kind of wiggle that on, it'll pop on like that, and you can get the bolt in. That's a 17mm that you're going to do that up with. Now you're going to want to put 15 psi in your front and 15 psi in your rear tyre. That's going to give you a nice pressure for all round riding. Reinstall the seat in the reverse order of which it came off, and we're starting to get towards the end of this assembly. Now these bikes are equipped with a removable baffle. It is simply one Allen head bolt, and you can remove that should you desire. We have noticed that these bikes do run slightly better with the baffle removed. They can just breathe that little bit better. Now we're going to do the decal removal. Be sure to remove these ones before you start the motor, as if the bike heats up, they may become rather difficult to remove. And then you can just work your way around the bike, grab the ends of them, and they come off nice and easy, just like that, exposing your lovely new Thumpstar motorcycle. add yourself some fuel there. We recommend 95 octane. They will run on 98, they will run on 91, but our preference is 95. And while you're at it, you're going to then check your fuel tap has been turned on. That is just located right down here. So be sure that that is in the on position facing down. The upwards position is reserve and facing to the side is off. And while we're here, we're just going to have a look at the choke lever on the side of the carb. That is on the left-hand side. So you just want to put your hand in there and lift it up to turn it on, just like so. It will click when it's all the way on. There we are, just like that. If you're in a cold environment, you're going to leave it on till it warms up for about 10, 15, 20 seconds, put it back down. And if you're in a warmer environment, you're just going to want to run it with the choke off. So now we can get ready to start the bike. This ignition switch has got two stages. The first stage is just ignition on. The second stage is ignition on with your headlight on. So you need to pull the clutch in to start these bikes, and we can now go ahead and hit the starter, and away she goes. And lastly, just a quick test ride to make sure all your parts are functioning properly. Just like so. And as we always say, guys, thanks for riding Thumpstar.